Today is January the 29th of 2022. I'm Dan Rogers, the Potter County GOP chair, and today I'm here with Tatiana Frausto, who's running for the 181st District Court. Tatiana, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here this morning.
Let's start off by telling the voters a little bit about your background and how you ended up in Amarillo, and then we'll get into why you're running again for the position.
Sure. As I said, I'm Tatiana Frausto. I am born and raised in Louisiana. I was raised in a small town, Kentwood, Louisiana, and so it was my mom and my three siblings. I made my way to undergrad at the University of New Orleans, survived Hurricane Katrina, and following Hurricane Katrina, I wanted out of Louisiana, at least temporarily, which is how I ended up at Texas Tech for law school. And while in law school, I met my husband there, or who would become my husband. He is an Amarillo native, and so he convinced me that Amarillo was where we should settle and start our family, and so here we are.
Very good. So where is Kent, Louisiana?
Kentwood, Louisiana is about an hour and 15 minutes north of New Orleans. Now I'm a little bit directionally challenged, so it may be north something else. I always tell people it's in the bend of the boot on the Louisiana-Mississippi border. So it takes about 15 minutes to get from my mom's house to cross over into Mississippi.
So you grew up on the Mississippi River?
Close to it, yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's Kentwood,
yes.
Louisiana? Very good. How big of a town was Kentwood?
It is very small, like smaller than Canyon.
So you're a small town girl?
I am.
So you decided to go to law school at Texas Tech because you didn't like the weather in Louisiana?
No, it's not that I didn't like the weather, but once you've survived a hurricane like Hurricane Katrina, you're just kind of ready for a change. And so I was ready for a change. I didn't want to stay in Louisiana for law school. Texas is not far from home. And so I set my sights on schools in Texas.
I got you. So once you graduated Texas Tech, you came to Amarillo, and then you went to work as a lawyer.
Yes.
And then how did you end up as our current judge?
So I worked in private practice for several years. I started out with the Abbott Law Office, and then I opened my own law firm. I did that for about 3 years. In 2015, I joined the Underwood Law Firm, became a shareholder with the firm in January of 2020. In late August of 2020, Judge John Board announced that he was going to be retiring as the sitting judge for the 181st District Court, which meant that the governor would then appoint who was going to be his successor to finish out the remainder of his term. That process was an application and interview process, though application makes it seem far more simple than what that process really is. But I did go through that process with the governor's office, and on September 11, 2020, I received the appointment for the 181st District Court.
So what's that process like? You fill out an application. Do you have to go in and interview?
Yes, so you fill out a very extensive application followed by a background check that the governor's office does, and then the governor's office chooses individuals that they're going to interview. Typically, yes, it would be an in-person interview. However, due to COVID at the time, they conducted the interviews electronically.
So how many people applied for that position?
I can tell you what I've been told. I do not know for sure how many people applied. I was aware of at least 8 people that applied for that position. There could have been more. Honestly, there could have been less. That's just what I've been told.
So you got picked out of a group of 8?
Yes, sir.
Is that why I've noticed your signs say keep?
Yes.
Not reelect?
Correct. So because I was not elected by the residents of Potter and Randall County, I cannot seek reelection. So my signs say keep, which indicates, at least to voters, that I am currently the judge in office.
I got you. That makes sense now.
Mm-hmm.
So tell the voters what the 181st Court does. I mean, type of cases they handle. You might give them a little background about the 5 district courts that are in Amarillo, Potter County, and so they get an idea of how that system works.
Okay. So in Potter County and Randall County, we have 5 district courts. Well, let me back up. In Potter County, we have 5 district courts. We have the 47th. The 47th sits in Potter, Randall, and Armstrong County. We have the 181st and the 251st. Both of those courts sit in Potter County and Randall County. And then we have the 108th and the 320th. Those 2 courts are only for Potter County. All of our courts are courts of general jurisdiction. That means that we hear family law cases, all felony criminal cases, and then general civil cases such as car accidents, suits between corporations, things like that. All of the courts do those types of cases. In Potter County, my court hears criminal cases and general civil cases. I have family law jurisdiction. However, the Council of Judges choose how we divide the cases we hear. And so it was decided that those of us that go between Potter County and Randall County would not hear family law cases in Potter County. So in Potter County, I hear criminal law and civil. And then in Randall County, I hear all 3: criminal cases, family law cases, civil cases. In both counties, the majority of the caseload are criminal cases.
So how are those cases assigned to the court? Is that done by the district clerk's office?
Correct. So once the cases are brought in, they're brought before the grand jury. We all rotate our times of having grand jury. So in Potter County, a court will have grand jury for 3 months. In Randall County, one court will have grand jury for 6 months. And then once a case is indicted, then the clerk's office assigns the case to a specific court, and it's random.
That way an attorney or a client can't choose which court they want to hear their case. It's just they have no way to do that.
Correct. There is no way to do it. We don't know it. We don't know a case has been assigned to us until it appears on our docket. So attorneys are not involved in it. The judges are not involved in it. Only the clerk's office handles the assignment of a case once it's been indicted, or in civil and family law cases, once they're filed, the clerk's office gives those cases a number and assigns them to a court.
So when the Potter County got hacked, how did that affect your office?
When Potter County was hacked, I was still in private practice, so I was not on the bench at that time. So I was affected on the other side of that whole situation.
So I guess that created a lot of problems for all the parties.
Yes, it did. It shut the clerk's office down. It shut the county down in some aspect, in a lot of aspects for several weeks. For attorneys, it was difficult for us because we couldn't just get online and look up a case or have access to our files. But I think that everyone involved made the best of the situation. I didn't feel like anyone threw their hands up and just said, I'm not going to do anything. Everyone really, tried to figure out how can we keep things going. I recall right after it happened, I showed up to court. I had a criminal case, and they couldn't pull up the paperwork for it. And so the court coordinator for that court just pulled out paper documents that hadn't been used probably in several years and had the prosecutor start filling them out. And, we made it work because we were all there, and there was no reason for us not to make it work just because the computers weren't there to assist us.
Yeah, it makes you wonder what we did before computers. Sometimes I think things were better.
We use lots of pen and paper.
That's right. And file cabinets and legal pads. Oh, very good. So what? So a judge's day is what? Is it 8 to 5 Monday through Friday, or tell the voters how that works?
Yes and no. I am at the court at 8 o'clock, no later than 8:30. I leave at 5 o'clock. Sometimes, yes, I do leave earlier if everything is done and I have nothing else that needs my attention. But I try to be there at my courtroom, either in Potter County or Randall County, Monday through Friday, all day, every day. However, my job doesn't stop there. There are officers that need warrants reviewed, and if they meet the standard, then signed. And crime doesn't stop just because it's 5 o'clock. And so there are often times that assistance is needed in the middle of the night or after 5 o'clock, at least, when a warrant is needed, especially in exigent circumstances where they really need to track down the information. So I make myself available even when it's not between 8 and 5 o'clock.
So do the judges rotate that, or do you have to be there in your jurisdiction?
No. So a police officer can call any of us. It doesn't have to be a specific one of us judges that they call. Most of the time they try and they start calling until they get one of us on the phone. And so for a lot of cases, it has to be a district court judge. Sometimes that's signing off on it. So they start calling those of us that are district court judges.
So it just depends on who answers their phone first.
That's right.
I got you. So how's your caseload? Do you feel like you're caught up, or has the virus caused any problems slowing things down, or are you backed up?
Yes. I would say COVID absolutely caused a backlog of our cases. I believe in criminal cases, there was a backlog that existed even before the pandemic. We cannot blame the pandemic on the volume of cases that have not been dealt with. But yes, the pandemic did not help that issue. Once I was put into office, I immediately went to work addressing that backlog. In civil cases and family law cases, we were able to continue to hear those cases still pretty readily via Zoom. Those cases lent themselves to still being able to hear them. Not ideal. Always we want to see people in person, but those cases were still able to keep moving while we were hearing cases via Zoom. And so we are more caught up on civil cases and family law cases. When we turn over to criminal cases, we were not trying criminal jury trials via Zoom, picking a jury via Zoom. None of those things took place. And so in the criminal world, what we were able to still do on Zoom were to hear motion hearings if a defendant had a motion to suppress hearing or a writ hearing asking that their bond be reduced, or a plea. Those things could be heard via Zoom. However, the trials, those cases that were truly awaiting trial, ended up not being able to be addressed because the courts were not able to bring in jurors or to meet in person to have those hearings. And so since late March, early April 2021, we have been back open and trying cases. I send out a docket. I have a criminal docket in both counties every single month. Since that time, I have tried 9 jury trials, and so we are trying to catch up, but there is still a long ways to go with catching up in the criminal cases.
So if somebody's awaiting trial for a criminal case, are a lot of those people in jail?
They can be. Some of them are in custody. Some of them are on bond. And so my attention quickly went to those that are in custody and addressing those first and trying to get those moved because one, the defendant and victims in these cases need to have these cases heard, need to have some finality. Also, every day that a defendant is sitting in the Randall County or the Potter County jail is costing us tax dollars. And so, the jails have had a hard time with the volume or the number of people that they've had in custody during the pandemic as well.
Well, it sounds like a big job. Why don't they just pass a law telling people not to commit crime?
If only it was that easy. We have lots of laws that tell people what not to do, and yet I still have a job.
So they just don't pay attention to the law.
We all have free will, and sometimes people use their free will to do the wrong thing.
Very good. So why should the voters choose you? I guess you do have an opponent, so they have a choice. So why should they choose you over your opponent?
I am a very hardworking and dedicated person. I am dedicated both to this community and to the job that the governor has entrusted me to do because he saw that I was the best person for the job, and what I hope the community also sees me as the best person for the job to do. My experience and background is in criminal law and family law. I've done criminal law and family law the entirety of my career. While I was at the Underwood Law Firm, I started doing general civil litigation. Again, these are all of the areas heard by this court. However, the criminal law and the family law are the bulk of the court's docket, and that is what my experience is in. It afforded me the ability that once I was in office, I quickly went to work addressing the needs of this court, hearing cases, moving cases. There was no time period of me trying to catch up or figure out what I was doing. I went in ahead of time, got the lay of the land of what the needs of the court were, so that once I was in office, I could quickly go to work, and I did just that. And I'm not ready to stop. I am committed to being on this bench doing a great job for this community because having good judges represent the people of Potter and Randall County is so important.
What do you think the most important quality a judge has or should have?
Integrity. People should know that their judges are not bought and they're not for sale um, in any capacity. And so when people walk into the 181st, I want them to know that they have a judge on the bench that is going to hear their case and apply the law to the facts of their case and make a ruling based on that and nothing else. They may not leave liking the outcome. There's a 50-50 chance that they will. Not everyone's going to be happy when they leave court. I understand that. But as long as they know that they had their day in court, that they had a judge that was patient enough to listen, respect them while they presented their case, and that the ruling was based on the law, not because I had anything against them or I liked the other side better or any of those things that shouldn't play into a judge's decision making. As long as they know that, then I know that I've done my job.
So do you like being an attorney trying to convince the judge that you're right, or do you prefer being the judge telling the attorneys they're wrong?
I love the law. I am very passionate about the law, how it affects our communities. And so, people ask me all the time which side I preferred. I haven't figured that out yet. I love advocacy. I loved helping people. In family law, you see people with very, very emotional facts. And being able to help them navigate that and walk them through that process was very important to me. In criminal law, someone's freedom, their family's well-being, victims and how it's impacted them, all of those things go into play. And so as a judge, I see that, and it is very important to me to address those issues so that everyone involved feels like they've been heard.
I would think that family law would be difficult because of all the emotion on both sides.
Family law is difficult or was difficult, but also very rewarding because, like I said, you see people in very tough circumstances, and knowing that you can help walk them through it and especially see them come through it on the other side, it's just very rewarding. It always brought joy to me to see a mom or a dad, a husband or a wife at the start of a case, not knowing how this is going to end, them sometimes feeling like, it's blown up their world. And then to see them on the other side of it, even if the other side is not on the day that the divorce is finalized, sometimes it's running into them a year or two later and just hearing their testimony of, how I was able to help them, how things that I told them at the beginning came to be true, that, they did work through it. They are in a better place and they feel like their family is healing.
Very good. What do you have a website or anything that the voters can learn more about you?
Yes, my website is www.keepjudgefrausto.com. I also have a Facebook page, and you can look me up at Keep Judge Tatiana Frausto on Facebook.
Well, very good. Is there anything else you'd like to tell the voters?
I love this community. I really enjoy serving in this community. I serve in lots of different capacities on different boards, and this is important work that we as judges do. And so I just hope that the citizens of Potter and Randall County really do their research on everyone that is seeking a judicial position. And after doing so, I hope that I earn their vote on March 1st. Early voting begins February 14th.
Well, very good. I appreciate you coming by.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.